Hi, everybody. I wanted to jump on here really quickly and give you the latest update on P. Diddy. We're going to talk about the latest class action lawsuit, and then we're going to talk about the defense saying that they have a winning formula for his case. They're actually going to say in a court of law that all of this is happening to Diddy because he's a successful black man. So you have to believe me when I tell you this is going to be the trial of the century. I am old enough to have lived through the O.J. Simpson case, which up until now, that was the trial of the century. But now, P. Diddy, this is the trial of the century. Now let's talk about why his children are going to stand by his side every step of the way. This defense really feels like they have a good strategy, a good winning strategy. So I guess this strategy was presented to Diddy this weekend. Now we know today he is off of unaliving watch. I hope you guys understand what that means. I can't, I still have to speak in code. It's still YouTube. He's not on unaliving watch anymore, and he got to talk to his children and his attorneys, and the new defense was presented to him. Also, I wanted to remind you guys, Albie Sure had been telling Quincy that his father had unalived his mother, Kim Porter, and the rumors were he was very depressed about it. He didn't know really what to do or which side to take. Now it's being reported that he is no longer indecisive. He is Team Diddy 110%. Now, Diddy's attorney strongly believe that the alcohol company Diageo is behind this. If it wasn't for this lawsuit that he was going to bring against them for racism, he's saying that they're racist, they said none of this would be going down. We talked about it on my show before. I want you guys to hear this new TikToker who really explained it in a very clean way.
P. Diddy has garnered a lot of enemies over the past few months, the biggest being the United States government and its new criminal investigation against him. But his biggest enemy came in May of 2023 when he filed a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against the alcoholic beverage company Diageo. Why would Puff file a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against them? He claimed that they were engaging in racist practices. Beyond Ciroc, which connects it to Puff, what other liquor brands do they own? Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, Bailey's, Captain Morgan, to name a few. And in 2017, they purchased Don Julio and gave George Clooney $1 billion to purchase Casamigos. Those last two is where Puff has an issue. In 2007, Diageo was losing $40 million a year on a brand they had called Ciroc. So they contact Puff because they seen that he had a major influence in the lifestyle world. So Puffy signs on to promote Ciroc. Now the deal was he would just get a sponsorship fee for promoting the brand. He didn't have any ownership in it. Sort of like the influencer deals that you would see here where a company will contact the influencer and pay them a flat fee to promote a product. Same thing, way more money. Puffy sets out on this unprecedented advertising campaign, turns it completely around and makes Ciroc a household name and one of the most popular vodkas in the world, but he has no ownership in it. This leads to the flavored Ciroc variants, peach, apple, coconut. They don't give him any ownership in the unflavored Ciroc, but what they do tell him is you can get X amount of dollars off each case of flavored Ciroc that ships. That's when you see Diddy starting to heavily promote flavored Ciroc bottles and why he was doing that. What Diageo didn't see coming is having to pay him $60 million a year off that deal. Here's the important part. Before Diageo started their partnership with Diddy, they were shipping 40,000 cases of Ciroc a year. 10 years later, with Puff being the face of Ciroc and promoting it, they were shipping 2.6 million cases. Keep in mind, Puffy is a boss, not an influencer. During this time, Puff started to see that tequila was becoming the popular drink that people wanted. So Puff buys the tequila brand De Leon. And Diageo, the company that he has made billions, is the distributor of it. Unbeknownst to Puff, they had also went and bought Don Julio and Casamigos from George Clooney. Neither company had made them a dime in the past 10 years. And then what Diageo did really pissed off Puff. First, we got to talk about supply and demand. If a company controls your supply and demand, they can determine your financial future. If they only make a small supply of your product and ship it to a small number of locations where people can buy it, you're only going to have a few buyers. Diddy owned 50% of De Leon and Diageo owned the other 50%, and Diageo was responsible for supply and distribution. Unlike Ciroc, where Diddy didn't have any ownership, he owned 50% of De Leon. What does that mean? Out of the billions of dollars that Puffy had made selling Ciroc, they only had to give him a few $100 million. They made over 70 billion. But because Puff owned half of De Leon, they were going to have to split those billions with him. They resented paying Puff the few $100 millions for Ciroc. Now it was looking like they was going to have to split the billions with him down the middle. Remember, he took Ciroc from shipping 40,000 cases a year to 2.6 million. Even if he got close to doing for De Leon what he was doing for Ciroc, they were going to have to cut a huge check. And Diageo stopped signing off on advertising budgets. So Diddy decides to investigate with his own people the infrastructure that Diageo had created to play their role in the contract of making De Leon a success. This brings us to the agave plant. Agave plants are the primary ingredients in making tequila, and they are grown in Mexico. So Diddy decides to send his people to Mexico to see how many agave plants Diageo had planted for De Leon.
I had to send my people down to Mexico, and this is just to tell you what the fight is about. They went down to Mexico, and when they got down there, they found out that there was 0 agave planted for De Leon. So there was no plan for us to be successful. There was no equal treatment. The other brands, they had agave planted.
And most of the agave that was planted for Casamigos, whom Diageo had just gave George Clooney $1 billion. Puff is pissed, and he files his lawsuit citing discrimination and breach of contract.
According to Diddy's attorneys, once Diddy files a racism lawsuit against them, they get upset. Well, upset is a mild word. Pissed. They get pissed, and they go to the feds. First, they go to Cassie, find out what's going on with her, encourage her to start a lawsuit. Then they go to the feds. According to Diddy's attorney, this is all happening because he sued them for discrimination. So now this is their new defense. They're going to pull the race card. See why I say this is the trial of the century? Because this is the exact strategy that the O.J. Simpson defense used. So they're saying that there's a new enthusiasm in Diddy's camp. They really feel like this is the winning formula. However, unlike the O.J. Simpson case, the lawsuits are piling in. On Friday, I told you guys that there was going to be a new attorney. His name is Tony Buzbee. The New York Post called him the #1 attorney in the United States. At that time, when I was telling you guys, he only had 50 new clients. Now he has 100.
Remember that lawyer who said he represents 50 victims of the freak-offs? Well, that number is now well over 100 alleged victims against Sean Diddy Combs and other alleged perpetrators where sexual assault and sexual exploitation are alleged. Tony Buzbee, one of the nation's most aggressive, successful, best personal injury lawyers in the country. He did so many cases. Most recently, the Deshaun Watson cases. He was involved in the Astroworld cases. He also announced a lawsuit against Chris Brown. This man has a hotline. He says there's over 100. There's going to be a press conference Tuesday at 1 p.m. I remind you, Puff Daddy's lawyer went into federal court and said he believes the origins of the federal investigation, which has now opened the floodgates for the civil litigation, was when Cassie went public with her lawsuit. Oh my God. Because that could not have happened. You could have prevented that potentially if you paid the confidential settlement a day before. Oh my God.
And he's putting it very mildly. There's a lot of oh my God things in this case. Let's not forget about the tape, the Cassie tape, him assaulting her in the hallway, really like kicking her with his own feet. And then there's the Justin Bieber situation, him willing to testify and go on the stand. Then there's the DRUGS. I mean, that alone will put him in behind bars for the rest of his life, just for that. But there's lots more going on. We've got the ex-workers that are crossing state lines, making it a federal case. There's just so much that I personally, and I'm not trying to be Debbie the Downy here, I don't think that this new racist card that they're getting ready to pull is going to work. I just don't see it. Because let's not forget, this isn't the OJ case. And some of the heinous acts that they're accusing him of, no black person, white person, anyone with a pulse is going to buy that we should let him off because he's a victim of racism. As a matter of fact, it could be an insult to a lot of people. But in the meantime, his children stand behind him, and believe it or not, he still has people on his side. They're just not crazy enough to come forward.
Free Puffy. Free Puffy. We know what's happening. The real ones. Yeah. Free Puffy. Get him on out of there. Why is everybody mad at Puffy? Every celebrity in the world, in the United States, point a finger to a man that they know Ben did this 5, 10, 15 years ago. What a setup.
Wow. Really, Tokyo? Wow. I just don't know what to say. I think I've said enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you believe that this new strategy is going to work? Which is, they're just trying to bring Puff down because he's a black man. What do you feel about the children? I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot, people, and it's just morning time. I'm sure I'll be back on a couple more times today. Until next time, bye for now.